You'd never think it, needing podcasts so badly. Not in fucking England, because 28 Days Later is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Teveno. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today, that is myself. 28 days later, we have 28 years later coming out. Is it this week? Next week? It's coming out very soon.
This week, Dave Boyle's return to the franchise, also his first movie since yesterday.
Oh,
Hopefully a lot better than yesterday.
the much beloved Yesterday.
Yeah, the movie that was like, oh, what if only one guy remembered the Beatles?
And then didn't they do a CG John Lennon in there? Because like obviously he wasn't shot.
Yeah, yeah. The movie's like him like talking to John Lennon, and like it was just like John's like, yeah, I knew you stole my shit.
I knew you still on my songs, bloke, but that's okay, mate.
Yeah, at least I'm alive. But this feels like a return to form for Danny Boyle. I mean, he's been out of the spotlight for a little bit. He had that Sex Pistols show that now has been delisted by Hulu. That's just in the ether now. So, like, it's good to see him back. I mean, and also returning to like one of his early like great movies.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it.
he had a very interesting career, Danny Boyle, where he had Train Spotting, which really put him on the map. 28 Days Later, and then he had Slumdog Millionaire, where he won the Oscar. Um, He had that, and then it kind of he had 127 hours with the James Franco. Steve Jobs was really good,
Mhm.
which was written by
I,
Sorkin. But
yeah.
then he did T2, which apparently is good. I've never seen it, and Yesterday, which not I don't think is much revered by anyone. And
Yeah.
now he has 28 years later coming out. He's had a very interesting little career, Danny Boyle.
Mhm.
Like one of those guys, every time I watch one of his movies, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy can direct. This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. He's like undersung, I feel like a little bit.
He definitely is, and I definitely felt it in 28 Days Later, right? Like I
Mhm.
I could feel like his style and his like control of and his presence to kind of create more horror there than there is just on the screen. Just we'll get
Mhm.
into it, but that opening sequence was mind-blowing. It was so
Mhm.
good. Just that waking up from a coma and finding a city abandoned. Uh, it was truly jaw-dropping. Just that isolation.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll talk about it. But I really enjoyed 28 Days Later.
Yeah, great movie. So I've seen it tons of times. It's one of those movies that like also was like around like I think it's playing like FX a lot back in the day. Like we're talking about Final Destination the week before. This is kind of similar. Where like Final Destination was my trash horror, whereas 28 Days Later is like this is actually like a great movie
Yeah,
kind of horror.
this is like a big boy movie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like I remember I watched that and endlessly too. So 28 Days Later. I mean, this might be my God, at this point maybe like 15th watch or something like
Oh
that
wow.
list.
Oh wow. This is a real rewatchable for you.
This is in my top 20, one of my favorite movies of all time. So, spoiler for my review at the end. Just love this movie. So, I'm really glad we're finally able to cover it. But we were trying to cover it maybe like a year or two ago. I was thinking of bringing it up, but it was kind of similar when we covered Dawn of the Dead. That like for a while this wasn't on digital for a reason. I think it's because issues with the music rights or whatever. So it would have been one of those things where like, Timmy, you want to go on piratebay.com
See,
to
I feel like I'm more comfortable surfing the high seas of the internet
yeah.
and this stuff than you are.
Oh, I'm totally comfortable with it too. But then I remember I had a roommate once that like overdid it with the pirating, where if we got a letter in the mail from the FBI that was basically like, "Stop doing this." Tell him I was like, "Hey man, can you chill out with the Pirate Bay shit a little bit?"
Oh boy, I bet I could guess which roommate of yours it was.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's tough. You can't if you're gonna torrent, you can't seed. because that's how they find you. It's not on the download, it's when you re-upload it back up so other people can download it. Let the people who have figured out how to hide it
Yeah.
seed it. You do not need to do that yourself. But Tommy, what have you seen recently? What did you go explore in the theaters, or perhaps from your vast collection of Blu-rays and DVDs and VHSs?
Yeah. I don't have the VHSs. That's the one I'm like, no, I don't see the point in that. But anyways,
Even the
over the
Betamaxes?
nah, it's like whatever. I don't need my home videotapes. Um, but anyways, so over the weekend, the CT Cult Classics, the place in Seymour, Connecticut, does all these double features I went to, and this time they're doing a double feature of Blue Velvet and Eraserhead. So two David Lynch movies. Timmy, you would have been right at home right there. You would have loved it. Blue Velvet on first watch. We covered it last year. Loved it again on second watch. Seeing theater was too because like it was just great to see people laughing at like the different Dennis Hopper shit. There wasn't any like disrespectful laughing or anything like that, which people have been saying happens a lot during Blue Velvet screenings. But just in general,
Inappropriate? What do you mean by inappropriate laughter?
during like the Isabella Rossellini scene where like
Oh,
yeah when they're in the closet. So yeah, it's one of those scenes where it's like, I don't think you want to hear a lot of people laughing. But anyways, uh, fantastic movie, really great. Eraserhead. I am due another rewatch. This is my first time ever watching it. I thought, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna see Eraserhead on the big screen for my first time. This is gonna be great. I feel like I saw it in the complete wrong format, which is the back half of a double feature. The movie started at 11 o'clock at night. I was already tired at that point,
I don't even.
and
Why do you sign up for double features that take place at 11 o'clock at night?
well,
You don't.
usually I'm fine. Usually I'm fine because like
No,
the
you're not.
no, usually if these double features they do, I'm fine where I can get through it. But Eraserhead is not the type of movie where like I didn't take a nap beforehand like I usually do for these things. And seeing Eraserhead as
See,
the sec,
you
I just
proved
say,
my point. You needed a nap to go see a double feature.
yeah, because it was Saturday night, whatever. But anyways, like trying to watch Eraserhead while also fighting to stay awake is just not a great combo whatsoever. So I'm due a rewatch. I didn't like it on first watch. I thought it was just
I
like
also
weirdest.
I didn't like it on my first watch, and I have not gone back to it since. I am waiting to. So I watched it at home. I'm waiting to go see it in a theater. I've heard with Eraserhead, it's like you see it on your third time and you're just like, oh, I get it now. I
Yeah.
I I just don't get it, and I'm not someone that wants to like watch a YouTube video being like, this is what Eraserhead is, and you go, oh, okay, this is your interpretation of it. Because
Yeah, exactly. Well,
David Lynch has never come out and explained what Eraserhead is. It just is, and you can interpret it how you want.
these double features they do pre-rolls a lot, like targeted based on whatever it is. And for the David Lynch one, they did one was an interview of him where he said, I think that Eraserhead is my most spiritual movie." And so it's like he elaborated on that. He's like, "No,
No.
not at all." So I do a rewatch, but it just didn't seem the contrast between the crowd for Blue Velvet and Eraserhead, where everyone was lively and like chucking it up during Blue Velvet, and then Eraserhead, dead silence. Everyone was just completely locked in, and I feel like the ideal watch for me for that movie would be like in my apartment, like watching it almost on my tablet with the headphones on, and just getting
I
locked in like that,
I
and lights off completely, no lights completely whatsoever. It's the one time where I feel like the theatrical experience wasn't the ideal way for me to watch this for the first time.
That's so interesting. You don't think it had anything to do with like the time of day that you saw it versus the
Oh, I
theater?
even still because it's just like I feel like it was just so weird just seeing it, a movie that feels like very creepy. I feel like it would have been even creepier if I was seeing it by myself. Sometimes horror can be like that, whereas other genres I feel like in general are best, like
Would you
in a crowd.
classify Eraserhead as horror? I don't know.
Surrealist, like
I would definitely,
psychological.
definitely, yeah, definitely surrealist and psychological, but it's like creepy, but I wouldn't classify it as like a horror movie. It's a man taking
Well,
care of like an alien baby.
it's like you can see the threads of this is David Lynch in general, but you can see the threads when you're watching Eraserhead of like the creepy surreal shit you find on YouTube on like 2 in the morning where you're like, what the fuck did I just stumble
I
upon? Kind of thing. You don't go on those YouTube algorithms?
No, we have different YouTube algorithms. I
Yeah,
get if I can't sleep, I put on a YouTube channel and it's called like History to Help You Fall Asleep. And it's
yeah.
like British guy talking softly and he's just like
That's your white
what
noise.
yeah, it's my white noise. It's just Do you ever think about what it was like to be an assassin in the Middle Ages? It's worse than you think. And it's just I don't even know like how like I could imagine they just stop talking after 30 minutes because I it just knocks me out cold, but it's just like you're poor, everyone hates you, and someone holding a bag comes in, gives you half of it, and if even if you successfully kill some prince somewhere, they'll probably just kill you afterwards because no links. It's I don't know. It's that kind of stuff that just goes,
Yeah, yeah.
oh
And you
wow, that
immediately
sounds
just
cool.
roll over and just like conk out.
I conk out to that pretty
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
But I went and saw Materialist.
Nice.
It was good. I enjoyed it. It's marketed as a rom-com. It's not really a rom-com. It's definitely has its funny moments. I mean, you have Celine Song directing it, who she just did Past Lives a couple of years
Mm,
ago. Now her follow-up is just a deep look into the dating world today, especially in New York City, and how transactional it is. And,
mm.
where does love fall into the place of that is kind of the core of it. I won't spoil anything, but Dakota Johnson's character, Lucy, she's a matchmaker, and halfway through, she has her core foundation just shook up in such a way that it leads into the second half of the movie. And Chris Evans
Mm.
is her ex-boyfriend. Pedro Pascal is her new boyfriend. It makes for it's a good movie. It's nice that they let Chris Evans out of movie jail.
Yeah. Well, it's self-imposed kind of because I was
Oh,
talking to our buddy Will about this. It's like, has Chris Evans been in anything even worthwhile since Knives Out? Like,
no.
if you look at the 6 years in between,
No,
it's like,
it's
yeah,
all garbage.
all straight to streaming garbage kind of stuff, or like Red One, or what was that movie if Anna de Armas he did, where it's like,
It's the
wait,
Apple one.
you're a spy or something like that?
Yeah,
It
it
looked like shit.
didn't even blip on the radar. And then he
Yeah,
had the cameo in Wolverine, whatever that movie was. Um, but yeah, he was it self-imposed? Probably. I
yeah,
did see a clip of him doing the promotional tour, and Pedro Pascal's like, "Oh, maybe you should pick my next movie," and he's like, "Believe me, you do not want me picking your next movie." Like,
yeah.
um,
Well, it is funny seeing like how the like Marvel actors that like ended it during Endgame, like went their career. Robert Downey Jr. was like, "All right, I'm gonna get my Oscar," and then he got his Oscar. Is like, "All right, just give me all the money again." Like, fuck it, I got my artistic merit. Whereas Chris Evans was just like, "You know what? I just want to be in trash, pure, pure trash."
I think that's hard to say because like no movie goes into production wanting to be trash. It just
Yeah.
becomes trash. Now
Hmm.
if the screenplay is bad, that's, kind of on him. But I
Hmm.
did see a trailer for him called Honey Don't. It's directed by Ethan Cohen, with Margaret Qualley, Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Day, and Chris Evans. And he's going to be playing a pastor, and it's a dark comedy with a small town private investigator delves into a series of strange deaths tied to a mysterious church. And it's coming out in August. I'm excited. I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks right up my alley here." Like, it doesn't even need to be great. It's just going to be a lot of fun, and
Hmm.
that's the kind of movie I'm looking forward to. And it's that kind of role that I feel like Chris Evans has just lacked, where he's he kind of falls into the Brad Pitt realm of like he's too good looking and he's probably best as like a character actor, where
Hmm.
he like in Knives Out, where he can just kind of go balls to the wall out and play it a little campy. Like I feel like
Hmm.
that's his best position to be in. And I feel like
Instead, he's been in, like generic action movies lately, like The Gray Man or something.
yeah, he was Buzz Lightyear in the Buzz Lightyear
This is
movie.
the weirdest tweet of all time. Ready to promote that movie. He said, "This is not a movie based about the toy. This is a movie about the this is the movie about the movie the toy was based on." It's like, what are we
Oh,
doing here?
yeah, that's a real like that's a
What the
real
fuck is? Yeah.
The live, I call out the live action stuff for being creatively bankrupt, and
Mm,
it is creatively bankrupt, but the Lightyear movie is like another level of creatively bankrupt.
mm, totally.
Yeah. So Materialist, go see it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It had some good laughs in it, good drama in it. I think it was an interesting thought experiment. It left me thinking out of the theater, which is more than I can say for a lot of stuff that enters theaters today.
Yeah. I mean, in general, it's great to see that we're getting like a big, like three A-listers essentially in a rom-com kind of thing or romantic dramedy. On our vision board, like A24 released their vision board for the Celine song for like inspirations for the movie. And one was a movie I've been talking about us trying to cover called Broadcast News, which is just a
Mm,
great romantic dramedy from the 80s. So just based on that alone, I'm like, all right, I'm in. I need to see this movie now.
yeah, definitely go see it. You will not be disappointed. You may not be your cup of tea, but it'll at least leave you thinking. But speaking of movies that left me thinking, in the hour since I have finished watching it, this is 28 Days Later.
In the blink of an eye, the world he knew was gone. See the only movie this summer that's a stunningly scary hit, striking and original. Infected! Infected with what? A genre-busting vision.
Use the blood. There's something in the blood.
And it's scary as hell.
Hey, did you hear that? You know what?
28 Days Later. Rated R. Starts Friday, June 27th.
28 Days Later is a post-apocalyptic horror movie directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland, starring Cillian Murphy as a bicycle courier who awakens from a coma to discover the accidental release of a highly contagious, aggression-inducing virus that has caused the breakdown of society, also starring Naomi Harris, Christopher Eccleston, Megan Burns, and Brendan Gleeson. Um, so this movie, I like remember this movie coming out. I think I always remember movies that come around near my birthday, and I'm the 28th. This came out June 27th. I remember my 10th birthday, Mr. Deeds and Hey Arnold the movie came out on June 28th, 2003. So I have a weird memory for movies that just came out right near my birthday. Uh,
Yeah, so you were exactly 10th birthday party. Be like, hey, mom, can we go see 28 Days Later?
no, we were more like,
Yeah.
hey, Mom, could we go see Scooby-Doo? Um,
Yeah.
because I think that's what I did for my ninth birthday was it was either Scooby-Doo or Lilo and Stitch. I can't remember which one, but
Yeah.
uh yeah, you would have been like, Mom, can we go see 28 Days Later? And then some kid we invited to this birthday party would come home, wouldn't be able to sleep for 2 days, and then his mom would be like, I
I
don't want
think
your son hanging out with my son ever again.
on the tangent of like the worst birthday movies, I remember for my 15th birthday party, I took my parents and my parents took a bunch of my friends to go see Watchmen, the Zack Snyder movie, which I kind of like, but I remember everyone I saw it with hated it. It was like me and a bunch of 15-year-olds and my parents. My mom was so embarrassed because there's so many nudity scenes, and she's like, I can't believe I just took all these fucking like 15-year-old kids to go see this movie. My dad was like, oh yeah, there's boobs in that movie. That's the best part. And like everyone else was just like, yeah, the movie sucked, Tommy. What the fuck? I was like, it looked cool. I don't know.
It's so funny because I'm just picture because I knew you at this age. I'm just picturing like
It was like
that
pre-contact
crew
lenses, me with the glasses.
that crew that you hung out with would 100 if the movie sucked would 100% blame you, not going out
Yeah,
of the theater being like, well, that sucked. Oh, all right, Tommy, we came out for your birthday and you
yeah,
made us go to a shitty movie. What the hell, man?
yeah. The Drex of March. I don't usually great movies. I remember one time I took my friends to see Cop Out, the Kevin Smith movie. So also
Kevin's,
fantastic.
you mean Kevin Hart movie?
No, Cop Out was the Kevin Smith, Bruce Willis, Tracy Morgan buddy cop
Wait, he
movie.
directed that?
Yeah, he directed that. And
No,
Bruce Willis bullied him on the set.
that
There's a
sounds
whole
about
story about it.
that sounds
Yeah.
about right. Listen,
Uh,
Kevin Smith was an experienced enough director at that point to be able to handle Bruce Willis. I'm sorry, like
you dealt with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Chris Rock and Dogma, which I saw again recently. That was great seeing in theaters. But anyways, back to 28 Days Later. I mean, this is a movie that like the intro of like Jim wakes up in the coma and it's like 1 month later. I think that's been done to death by now in post-apocalyptic media. Like I was thinking The Walking Dead a lot when watching this sequence this time, and how much better this is done than The Walking Dead, which definitely had a higher budget. I mean, this only had like an $8 million budget. They were scrapping by. Christopher Eccleston had to take a pay cut at one point during this movie as an emergency to for the budget. They had to like fight the studio for more money. But just the way this movie's shot and the way it opens up with just Cillian Murphy in his bed, see as full Murphy.
Wait, Tommy. So, as our professional dong raider on the show, you are our dong guy. You are the guy when
Yeah,
it comes to dongs. What would you rate Killian Murphy's dong? Because he goes full frontal here.
yeah, he goes full
Well,
Murphy. I'd say like a four.
a
Not
four out of
impressive
what?
dong.
4 out of 5?
4 out of 10. No, 4 out of 10. It was a different scale for dicks.
Different scale for dicks.
Um, but anyways, just
Oh
like
wait,
that
wait,
one.
wait, 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 wait.
Yeah.
It's,
You're like, we're harping on this. This is gonna be the next 30
I'm
minutes of our
harping.
podcast.
I just I want to see if I can get you embarrassed. You're so hard to embarrass.
Haven't haven't seen it, but have you seen this dick?
Yeah. So, what is a 10 for you?
10 dick? I don't know, like a magnificent dick. I don't
No,
know.
there's only one
I try,
answer.
I try,
There's only one
I
correct answer, Tommy, and it's your dick. There's no other
yeah,
correct answer.
yeah, that's true.
Um, I just wanted to know where you fell on the dong.
Where's the line? Where can you get me embarrassed?
How can I get you embarrassed? How can I
It,
get you to blush
it
up?
probably has happened on the podcast, especially when I'm a little
Yeah,
drunker.
it definitely has.
I'm too sober tonight.
But so it does there's a cold open to the movie where
Mhm.
these activists walk in, and they basically release the virus because they're experimenting on monkeys.
Yeah.
Shades of COVID, shades of COVID infection in a lab spreads around the world. Um,
Well, there is something though about this movie. Just to touch on the code part real quick. I've seen this movie a bunch, and I remember when I first rewatched this post-COVID, it hit in a way that never really hit me before. Just in, especially like people talked a lot about the scene I was just talking about with the empty streets of London of Jim just walking down. How much I felt like I don't know if you remember like seeing during COVID breakdown where like people would be like in Times Square and they'd show it and just be
oh, I
empty. The
I
only time
drove
ever.
I drove through New York City during COVID,
Mm,
and there was no traffic, and I drove through Times Square, and I counted like 5 people in
yeah.
Times Square. It was
Like
crazy.
it's eerie as hell, and this movie, like, in a way, felt precedent towards that, and even this movie felt like a response to 9/11, even though this was filmed pre 9/11, and I think one moment they filmed during 9/11. Because you have that one moment during that shot where Jim walking around all of London, and you see all the flyers of people of like missing people,
Well, yeah. Oh,
and
it gave me
mm,
I've a lot of, if you want to know the secret behind how I do my ratings at the end, it's usually like, does a movie give me goosebumps at any point in time? And if it does, like, it gets a it gets a star jump because like it
mm,
doesn't happen that often. But that sequence, and it ends with that part where he's looking at this bulletin board and it's just all these missing people. It just really like raised the hair on my arms, where it's just like, oh my God. Like, and also as the audience too, during this part, you have an idea like, okay, there was an infection. Got it. But then we
mm.
cut to Jim in a hospital. He just wakes up naked, which, not to harp on his dick again, but like, don't they get you, like, if you're in a coma, aren't you in a hospital gown? Like, you're not naked.
Well, at this point, this society disarray. Nobody was really checking in on Jim at this point. Let's be real.
Yeah, clearly nobody was checking in on Jim, but like,
Yeah,
that doesn't mean they didn't leave him in like a stinky hospital gown.
yeah. I guess people were just like, "Fuck it, I don't care" at that point. Um, but it is just like shocking to see, like in the comparison to Walking Dead, how that feels so like just like you're on a set and just like Halloween Horror Nights kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, it was cool at the time, but when you think back at it, it's like it doesn't really hit like this. This feels more realistic. I think like the cameras they used to shoot this movie really helped with that. Majority
Yeah.
of this movie was shot on like a Canon XL1 digital video, which was pretty new at the time. This is one of the first movies ever shot on digital, and part of it was an aesthetic choice, because Danny Boyle said like it helped you like feel like you were survivors too. Like it almost has a documentary feel to it in a way with the cinematography and how shitty those cameras look. And second of all was, with the whole shutting down London thing, that was shot practically in London, and basically they were able to like get Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. They would get the street closed off for sections for like minutes at a time, and they could do that with like a Canon XL1 digital video camera. But with a 35 millimeter, it would have taken so much more time. And police would be like, "No, you're not setting up the shot for like however long it takes that for."
Yeah,
With
no,
the
it's
X,
just like, all right, here's the camera. Let's light it and walk around with it. Let's do it quick. It kind of reminds me of Ed Wood when they're shooting on the screen. It's like, hey, don't you want an extra for protection? What? It's perfect. Let's roll. Print it. Let's
yeah,
go. And that was like top of the line, like
Mm.
handy camera. I tried to see if I could find it on Amazon. You cannot because it's over 20 years old, but you could buy probably something similar with 4K Ultra HD, a Canon one, like a real camera, for 12.49. And if you want to buy a camera that probably doesn't work but claims to be 4K, 60 frames per second, you can
Mm.
also buy one for 90 on Amazon.
But like
So
that alone is like way better than anything that they're shooting this movie with.
yeah, I
And it,
literally had to I was started the movie and then I paused it a minute in and I'm looking at it and I'm like, what? Like, is this is the rip on Amazon like this bad? And then I just
yeah.
Googled like, why does 28 Days Later look like that? And I just got a whole thing about the camera that they used and that it was really like a revolutionary product because it was one of the first like studio films ever put on digital. And
Mm.
it kind of changed the whole process of how they go about shooting movies. So this is like, it doesn't get thought of that way, but it really is a foundational piece. And
But
the
even then, I feel like the cameras that are used in most movies for digital are way better than this.
Oh, way better quality, but
Yeah.
it's crazy because I think a lot of times the digital can reduce cinematography, and then I look at this, which was shot on a handy cam, and I thought the cinematography in this was great, especially in those London sequences when he goes into that church and he goes up the stairs and they have the end is fucking nigh.
Yeah.
Like on the wall, like in the way that he used the shadows and these like these wide shots, just like really giving this like isolating and fe terrifying feeling of like what is going to happen here. And then he has to kill a priest.
Yeah.
The
And a
priest is
haunting
infected
thing.
and chased in a church. He's just like,
Mm.
oh, I should not have done that.
Yeah. And like the way of like the haunting thing of just like the piles of bodies just in that church. And like you realize that something's going wrong. You're not exactly sure what. It's Jesus. One thing that's hilarious to touch on cinematography is that Sony is releasing a 4K edition of this movie. And it's like, what are you gonna do? You can't really like make the fucking like usually 4K is done through like 35 millimeter strips and they analyze this. You can't this like maxed out at like 720p probably at best. This is not gonna look good on 4K. Like
Well,
what? Why would you buy that?
I mean, you can upscale anything.
But it lose a little bit too of it, of the graininess and just like the handheld feel of it. If you
I,
did,
Yeah, I would be curious to see how that rip comes out. It could also just be like, we're gonna put this in Ultra HD. It's kind of like when a video game is like, oh, we're releasing a HD version of it. Like they used to do this on the 360, and it was just
yeah,
they
yeah.
put it in widescreen. Like that's all they did. Uh,
Hmm.
the game looked exactly the same. Uh, I don't think that I would be curious to see what that print looks like. I thought you did. Do you own a copy of this on DVD or Blu-ray?
Yeah, I have the DVD of this. This is also on top of it being hard to find on digital for a while. The DVD and Blu-ray are like way out of print to the point that like for a while Blu-rays are going for like hundreds of dollars. And thankfully I was able to find this at like a retro video game store like 2 or 3 years ago for like $5 instead of paying like the 80 to $100 just going on eBay right now.
Ooh, that's 80 to 100. That's brutal.
Yeah, seriously. So just crazy.
Well,
So
it's interesting the legacy of this kind of movie because it definitely I think it brought back the zombie movement.
yeah, zombies were really like a dead state. I mean, pun intended, I guess. But like, it wasn't until like Resident Evil came out in '96 that I started coming back, and then like they started thinking about this. But in terms of movies itself, like, off the wave of this, we get the Dawn of the Dead remake. Shaun of the Dead, and then like from there just more and more zombie movies, which really like was still a popular force in culture until maybe like 5 years ago. I feel like it started weighing down a little bit. Even though
It
we have
with oh, I think The Walking Dead like peaked and killed the zombie movement
yeah, exactly.
in one fell swoop. Um, with Shaun of the Dead and 28 Days Later, is London the greatest zombie town of all time?
Yeah, seriously, between the two.
Is it? I'm
So,
just trying to think like what is better because it's usually just like a farm. Like it's also interesting seeing a movie that's like a zombie movie that's a journey. I feel like horror, you're always gonna think, okay, they're gonna go lower budget, but I'm thinking like Evil Dead, which is like spirits instead of zombies, but Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. Um,
mm,
I'm thinking of these zombie movies, and they're all in like a singular location.
mm.
And
Yeah,
it's not often that you get a zombie movie where they're going on a journey.
it's not like them quarantined in one spot for the whole time. And one thing that also sets us apart from many other zombie movies, like we've covered Dawn of the Dead, the original, before this podcast. And I love that movie, but it's kind of like a comic book in tone, where it's just like a fun, like pulpy adventure type of thing. Whereas this is very humane, just very much about like the people effect of it, of like what would happen if like the terrible things that happen. Like there's a one part where Naomi Harris's character is talking to Killian Murphy, where it's like, were you ever thinking about the fact that you've probably read every book that's ever been written, you've seen every movie that's ever been shot, and you're never going to see like a new original piece of music ever before in your life? It's just like the things that it would probably be thinking of when the apocalypse happens. It's like Jesus Christ. Even the one scene that really stands out for me, and I think the highlight of this movie emotionally, is when Killian Murphy's like, I have to go see my parents.
Oh yeah,
And
I was just about to bring that up because he
yeah.
gets found when he escapes from that church. He gets found by Selena and Mark, and
Mhm.
they're hiding in a train station mart, basically
Mhm.
trying to hide from them. Uh, I also want to talk about the infected. I guess is probably the best way to put them, right? Like they're more the infected than the zombies. But I
Mhm.
love the design of them. There's just something harrowing about like they did these bloodshot eyes and like red around, blood around the mouth, and they are moving at 100% speed anytime they are like even if they're not moving, they're on edge. It's like
Yeah.
they're meth. They're just like
It's like full on
dodging
rabies.
tables. Yeah, jumping around like really, really animated. And it really like I found like for me, I'm not the biggest fan of the zombie genre. I think it's very played out. I think a lot of zombie movies
They
play
get
the
generic
same.
after a while. Yeah.
They play the same. They do the same thing. Like, oh, it's a bunch of undead. We got to kill them. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, great. That's your zombie movie. Oh my God, can you believe this is happening? But something about this where it's not ghoulish. It's not, chunks of brain missing. It's just like these are real people. It's just simple like contacts and blood makeup running around and run like I think of when they bump into um they they bump into what's his name? It's
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson and his daughter Hannah, and they hear the radio broadcast to go to um, Liverpool and or Manchester, whichever one it was. And they're driving out on the cab, and they go into the tunnel, they pop a tire, and the zombies, like the rats, come, and then it's because they're running away from the infected, and the like. It's using these like little details to just build up the intensity of them
Mhm.
in such a way that you really feel foreboding. Um,
And also, it's like the fast zombies in general. There was probably a big reason why this genre got so revitalized because it made it feel scary again in a way that they really didn't. After a while, they got hokey and just like to the point where like Dracula and Wolfman and Frankenstein were, where it's like, oh, the fun zombies. Whereas like 28 Days Later, like I've I'd probably be dead either way, but fast zombies, I have 0% chance of like making it whatsoever. My cardio is not there. I'd be dead in a fucking instant. Slow zombies, I'd probably be dead still, but I feel like I have more of a chance. I can at least outrun a walking zombie. You
I
know what I
I
mean?
don't know if you'd be dead, Tommy, because I think you could isolate yourself in your apartment so
Yeah.
well.
As we saw during quarantine, where I
I
did not
I
leave.
I think you could stink up your apartment so bad that they just, you know, even through the apocalypse, Uber eating some Chipotle bowls over, stinking up that place that they're just gonna be
Yeah.
like, nope, nope, nope,
Yeah.
I'm no
It's already
thank you.
dead in here.
It's already dead. Wow, he really just wants that. You just with the headphones on,
Yeah.
little
Gaming, not even
movies,
realizing what's
little
happening.
gaming. What's going on in the world? Why haven't I gotten a text in a while? Why does my phone not work? You
Yeah,
actually,
right.
once the power went out, that's when you'd take your head. What is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Then I realized that there's something going on out there. Um, exactly. But and well, again, like this just brings back so much like just memories of just um COVID times and stuff like that. Like, obviously COVID was not nearly as intense as this was. We didn't have rage zombies, but it's just like the feeling of just isolation and just like, oh, like hearing that so and so did this and just how many moments this movie has of just like telling human stories of right after I remember when I first watched this movie after COVID happened. Like I think I rewatched this in like 2021. I've seen this movie a ton of times. And when well, actually, when Jim is going up the stairs and you hear like the kind of choir angelic music to his
Yeah,
parents' house, it made me like bawl crying. It was just like really intense emotionally. And just the one scene where he opens up, he sees his parents, they killed themselves. And they said, Jim, we left you sleeping in love. Don't wake up, and he sees that and just immediately cuts like the home video of his parents walking
yeah.
around. Just really heartbreaking in a way that you don't think of like these movies really go to.
Uh,
If
yeah, and it just really personifies them. And they talked about how Mark and Selena like lost their loved ones too.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mark's story is heartbreaking where it's just like I saw my father's eyes. You're fucking lucky your dad killed himself.
yeah,
And just like how utterly hopeless this world is that Jim's been dropped into.
yeah, and I mean, I guess it's like the autonomy, right? Like the choice of it. It's like they had the choice to be able to go out on their own terms versus,
Mm,
even in that sequence, right? Like his n neighbor who's infected breaks in, he sees the candlelight, he breaks in, Mark gets infected, Selena kills him without a second of thought, without a trace of a doubt. And yeah, like
Keelan's crap. Like that was my neighbor and that was his daughter.
yeah, and they're just like, okay, we gotta move. Like we
Yeah.
cannot stay here. Um,
Mhm.
and I think one of my other favorite sequences, I think one of the things this movie does really well is give some light in that middle section before it gets really dark towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, like I
Brendan
love,
Gleeson's the heart and soul of this movie
oh
in a
yeah,
way.
he was so great in this movie. Uh,
Mhm.
as Frank, the cab driver, he's sending out SOS sequences from his balcony, and they go and find him, and there's that really tense sequence up the staircase, and he comes out in like the full security guard, and just like you're like, is
Mhm.
this a community? Like, what is this? It's like, nope, it's just a dad in his apartment, and he's just like, oh, we have some creme de menthe. Let's celebrate. That's all we have left, but it's some creme de menthe uh,
Mhm.
to celebrate. But I love when they, go on their quest and they stop and they find a grocery store, and it's just, it's just so out there in the tone of the movie, but it was exactly what you needed there. Just some like a little bit of hope and optimism of being like, oh, maybe this will be a nice little adventure that they're going to go on.
Yeah, and there's like a Blur song or something like that in the background the whole time, and like Brendan Gleeson has a little montage of him checking in different whiskeys. He's like,
He's
I'm just gonna take all these."
yeah, he's just like,
So, and just everything about him, he's like the most hilarious character. He really brings a sense of levity to this movie that this movie needed at that moment, like you said. And to the point when he dies in this movie, it's like a gut punch right there. It's like, oh no, not him, like of all people.
Well, and it was also a gut punch to his character because he had so much hope and it was Manchester. Finding
Mm,
this community outside of Manchester, and when they get there, there's nobody around. It's just isolated. It looks like these barracks have been long abandoned, and
mm,
he tries to scare away a crow. He kicks a metal grate and gets blood from the corpse that was hanging above in his eye. And when he's just like he tells his daughter Hannah, Hannah, I love you. She's like, "What, Dad?" And she starts walking, and he's like pushing her away,
Mm.
like not even communicating that it happened to him. And then, boom, the the military, quote unquote, that's there shoots him, sight on scene. Um,
It's the chaotic nature of this movie, though, that like unlike so many other zombie movies where like you get bit and then it's like a couple few hours go by until you turn, or maybe a couple days or something like that, where like your characters can have moments to say goodbye. In this world, you get bit or like you get blood in you, you have like 20 seconds, and you're fucking one of them. It's just like doesn't even give you a moment to say goodbye to your dad. Even the fact that like to the point when Brendan Gleeson gets shot up like 100 million times, Hannah just like in shock is like, "Dad?" Like in the way it's like, "Yeah, no, it's fucked. You're done."
yeah, no, it's really fucked. But then you also have this next moment of like, okay, we just lost Frank, but now we're going into this manor. It's fully militarized. They have a full kitchen down there. They have water. They have all the essentials that you need to survive. What for you, you're on your 15th viewing, like on if you can remember back to your first viewing of this movie, like what did you think was going to happen when they get to this encampment?
I thought there was gonna be like, oh, they're working on a cure in there, and there's like scientists probably at first, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and it just completely flips on its head where it's like, oh, we're studying them to see how they're alive, and they're keeping one chained up in this like isolated courtyard.
Mhm.
um, which comes back in. This movie does a lot of that where it's like, oh, we're going to give some evidence into things first and then pay it off later.
Mhm.
With the chained up zombie there. Um, but we then find out why that message was broadcast. Henry West, played by Christopher Eccleston, he's took these group of military and basically promised, yeah, if I get this broadcast out, maybe we can get some women up here.
Yeah,
And their whole goal was to lure women in and use them to repopulate the earth,
yeah,
but not in a romantic way, in more of like a sex slavery kind of way.
yeah.
Uh, shades of Mad Max Fury Road.
Mhm. Well, definitely, and it's one thing that like this movie in general, if it's cast, at the time, other than Christopher Eccleston and Brandon Gleeson, like these guys are mostly unknown actors, especially Cillian Murphy and stuff like that. But seeing Christopher Eccleston, a somewhat like familiar face at that point, he's been in a few more movies at that point. He's been known. It's like, okay, maybe this is good, and then you realize like, oh, the horror of like this is just as bad as the zombies practically.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, you created this safe space for people to come in, and it really isn't. If you're a man, I guess it technically is a safe space, but if you're going to force yourself onto women, it's not. And Jim, tries to save Hannah and Selena, rescue them and gets captured. And and there's the other sergeant who didn't approve of this, who goes down with them, and they're trapped in the furnace room. And I love how
Talk
they,
about The Simpsons.
well, he's talking about how it's like this is an island, like we're
Mhm.
clearly quarantined, like the world is not over. Like they are, it got out here, they've trapped it here, and they've left it to run wild, but they're not like, he's the only ones. He's like, your plan doesn't make sense that we need to repopulate the earth.
Yeah. It's just like again the humane thing where it's like people at home they're watching The Simpsons in America like 100 miles away. They're getting home with their they're sleeping with their wife and like having a normal life while we're living out this whole fucking chaos. It's just like we're obviously all quarantined at this first sign of anything. The infection no way got to anything, which was proved by the sequel when the sequel's like, oh, we're getting Britain back into repopulating it.
So spoilers for 28 weeks later, a movie that
That's the opening frame. It's like, oh, like years have gone by, like all the zombies have died, and now we can get back in. And then, shocker, somehow the zombies come back.
Still more zombies out. There's just patches of zombies we didn't know about. It's like an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon forest. They're just out there. We
Yeah.
didn't know they existed, but they do. They're there. Because we have to make a sequel, because this movie did very well at the box office. It made 84.6 million on an 8 million budget. That's a good return on investment if you ask me.
Mhm. And it's shocking that it's not that shocking that Danny Boyle didn't come back, but the unfortunate thing about 20 weeks later is that it bans the cinematography technique of the low tech cameras and everything like that, and it feels a little more Hollywood wise, where you know Jeremy Renner's in it, Robert Carlyle's one of the leads, Rose Byrne's in it, Idris Elba is like a U.S. general in it. It just feels much more like action movie Hollywood type thing. It's
Feels more
fun, but it's
feels
not
more
anything.
feels like, oh, we made this hit movie. Everyone who was involved with its creation is out now. What do you do? And
Yeah.
you get a bunch of hacks in there. They cobble together a script. You get some young up and coming actors in there, and boom, you get a mediocre sequel that probably still did well at the box office, but not as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's typically how it goes within Hollywood. But I loved, and it's also hinted at in this movie with the planes that fly over that Jim sees that, oh, there's people out there. There's planes still flying. Like there's people looking down and being able to see what is actually happening here. Um,
Yeah. I think that a big thing this whole movie is not abandoning your hope and remembering your human connections, especially through the character of Selena, where she says so many times, I'll kill you in a fucking heartbeat if you turn people just drag me down. I don't need anyone. And then she slowly learns that no, you actually need the connections. Like she points out to the Frank and Hannah at one point, for them, they still have each other. This world isn't that much horrible for them in comparison because they still have each other, still have someone to lean on to. I'm realizing I'm wrong. I need to open up to people. It's a way
and
that
she opens up to Jim, and that's, Jim gets sent out to execution. He survives. It's a really clever sequence where he dives into the bodies of, it looks like everybody else that they've killed that's come through. Like I'm guessing all the men that came through figured out what they were doing and was like, yeah, no, not for me. And they were like, cool, we're gonna just kill you then.
yeah,
And he Jim craftily makes his way back. He releases the infected into the castle. It does fall into the zombie trap of like, okay, we're in our castle now, we're in our location here at the end, but
Mhm.
it's for such a small amount of time that it's not like the entire movie takes place in one location that I do not mind it.
Yeah.
But he comes in and he kills the guard that was, holding Selena hostage, and you realize, oh, she doesn't know whether he's infected or not because he's killing him with such violence and such aggression that he almost seems like he's infected. And she
It
goes,
might be the most
"Oh,
gruesome kill in the movie.
yeah, easily."
Yeah.
It was totally, totally gruesome. And, she almost swings that cleaver at him, but then he goes in for that kiss and she's like, ah, Jim, you're still alive. Thank
Mm,
goodness. We thought you were gone. I loved that end sequence, all of them getting their comeuppance. They're
mm,
trying to escape in the cab, and Christopher Eccleston is just sitting in the back seat and gives Jim a gut shot.
mm.
And then we get
Uh,
28 days later into the epilogue where he finally wakes up peacefully in some cottage. And
Yeah.
they make a sign that says hello as a plane flies by. And we're left wondering, will anyone come? Will
Yeah.
anyone come to save them?
So I want to talk about the endings real quick because this is a movie that had three alternate endings to it. The first two were basically just Jim dies right there and it's over, whatever. He gets shot by Christopher Eccleston, he's done. And they're going to do a third ending that would have changed the whole third act completely, which would have been instead of Frank being killed by the soldiers when he was infected, Brandon Gleeson, everyone else would have just tied him up. They would have discovered a research laboratory at that blockade, and Jim would have done a blood transfusion to save Frank. And thank God they didn't go with it because you
No.
need that gut punch of Brand Gleeson dying. Like it would have been like too safe. It's awful in the movies when they don't have stakes like that, where it's like all these characters have plot armor. You need to feel like the gut punch of this. You need also the Christopher Eccleston act of just like, humans are just depraved.
Yeah, they're at their animalistic senses. It's the end of the world for anyone who still lives in London.
Mm,
Like they're going to shoot sight on scene and feel no remorse and no ethics because they're not even humans anymore. They're creatures.
mm,
But yeah, I would have been fine with Jim dying.
mm,
That would have been fine with me. Um, I would not have liked that other uh, ending would have felt like, oh God. And then like they escape and then it turns out Frank's okay and he's there and they're you know frolicking through the fields holding hands and it's like
it would have been too much. I mean, like we have enough hope in the ending that was shot and ended up being in the movie, but that would have been too much, just too like cutesy or whatever. Like, oh, so like no one really dies except for like a couple characters in the beginning or something like that, and there's no stakes or whatever. And real quick before we go into the next segment, the score of this movie just is
oh, it
fantastic.
rocks. It rocks so
Yeah,
hard.
it's
Like
like such awesome like post rock kind of like experimental type music, and just the way it hits, especially in the crescendo moments of just like them in the house at the end of the movie, where it goes on and on and on to a point that that's been in other movies now. It's like trailer songs and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, the guitar riff during when he was walking around London, like I've heard that before. Like that's been used countless times. It's a really, really great score. Uh,
Mm,
and it really sets that atmosphere.
mm,
And sets the swells of the big moments, but it's minimal. It's not some big sweeping John Williams orchestral score. It's minimal instruments. It's barren. It's
mm,
empty, but it's filling in that way.
mm.
And yeah, the score absolutely slaps.
I am
Yeah.
a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who is the star of the show? Who gave the best performance in your opinion?
I think Cillian Murphy, this is just like his
Yeah.
breakout role for him. He was practically unknown at this point when he made this. And, his performance was so striking that this is why he was cast in Batman Begins as Scarecrow. So this really made his career. I mean, just like even the moments of just like him of just walking around London is just so compelling. That shows us how much a great actor you are. Because like in lesser hands, I just look cheesy or I don't know, like just lame or whatever. It really sells like the horror and confusion.
Killian Murphy really has this like earnestness to him, where
Mm,
a real everyday guy. Like he's a good looking guy, but he's not like a Brad Pitt or a George Clooney where it's like that guy's just too good looking.
mm,
And then he just like he's got this, deep monotone voice, but that he's able to inflect off of really well. And
mm.
especially during his emotional scenes in the beginning of the movie, it's
Yeah.
really harrowing and really comes out. And I mean, the pinnacle of his career came out in Oppenheimer, and he won the Academy Award for it. But
Mm.
truly, like, you truly see like the star potential there in this movie. And Boyle really got the best out of him.
Yeah, easily. Brent Gleason's also a highlight, just the real heart and soul of this movie. And like I said so many times, it's just a gut punch when he leaves the movie. He just brings the much needed levity that was needed and just a great little, about 30, 40 minutes we spent of him in this movie.
And I really liked Naomi Harris in this too. She, gave a nice like performance and she had a nice character growth of realizing life is better not being alone and it's better having others in you because her initial crew of people, she could dispose of them without even a second thought. She thought nothing of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Cillian Murphy is easily the star of the show.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, Tommy. Would 28 Days Later work as a Muppet adaptation?
I'm shocked there hasn't been like a Muppet like zombie parody in general. Because I feel it's just like ripe for the taking or something like that. Or like you do like a family friendly zombie way. There's been family friendly zombie shit before. So, but like I just imagine like everyone turns into animal when they get infected. That's how you start because the rage virus and like, ah!
I think it would be funny because I think in a Muppet world you could make the zombies talk,
Yeah.
like they could have
Well,
dialogue and go back and forth. Like I think you could just kind of flip that on its head, like and do it in comedic Muppet ways and just go full slapstick on it. Like I think more
well,
like Night of the Living Dead would be more Muppet territory than 28 Days Later, though. There's an intensity to this movie that I've never seen in a zombie movie before.
yeah, exactly. Well, real quick, also, did you notice that one scene where Cillian Murphy kills the kid with the bat, and the
Yeah.
kid starts like screaming out like, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you." I didn't really pick up on that before in like previous watches. I was like, "Wait, what the fuck? Can zombies talk in this?" It was an interesting layer.
It was an interesting layer. That was a yeah, we didn't cover that part, but that was another harrowing scene where they're siphoning gas. He's just exploring the, rest stop that's there and there's one infected and it's this kid and it's that
Mhm.
ethical dilemma and he ultimately has to go through with it because
It's kill or keep be killed,
it,
essentially.
it's not a human anymore. It's you can't classify it as that.
Mhm.
All right, Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of five.
So this is one of my favorite movies of all time, probably my top 20. I think that this is like just a fantastic zombie movie. It really perfects the formula and just really brings so much energy to it that was lacking in so many previous entries of zombie movies. And really also on top of like the kinetic energy, just extremely humane, great performances across the board, and fantastic score, great direction. This is a 5 out of 5 banger for me.
I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 5. I really, really, really liked it. When I think horror, it just didn't leave me with that Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Exorcist feeling, but it came close. It came very close to that feeling. Um, it's isolating, it's humane, it kind of brings life to a genre that typically is like a horny teen movie, just like kids locked in a cabin and the zombies attack, right? Like that's the stereotype of it. And I really, really enjoyed this movie enough so that I'm not even that mad that you've somehow turned June into a pseudo horror month, Tommy.
Yeah, that's how I do. Come with the trash, come end with the greatness.
So 4.5 out of 5, highly recommend it. Definitely check it out if you plan on seeing 28 years later. So, Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Occasional Thread. We're also on Bluesky. That's podseenit.bluesky.social. And also leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out and helps us grow the show. So we have a couple good movies coming up. I think we have one more for June, or where are you going
Yeah,
in
we got
July?
one. We got one more for June next week. To be determined, but not. If you suggest a horror movie, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, there are two that I was thinking of. So
So, well, we will announce that on our socials. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next time.